Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we are back in the shop working on the big monster cane mill project, and today we're going to be trying to do some turning of the big rollers over here on the Monarch lathe. And to do this job, we're going to be really utilizing the jib crane that we put in here a couple of months ago, and this is really the first time that I'll have a chance to use it. And honestly, it was in anticipation of this project that kind of spurred me along to get this jib crane in here, because I knew I was going to need it to do some of this heavy lifting that we're going to be doing here. And it's going to come in handy countless times going forward, I'm sure, as we need to load up stuff in this big lathe. So first things first, I've got a chuck here. This is a 4-jaw chuck. I'm going to get it mounted over here on the lathe, and we're using the big jib crane for this. To get this chuck up here and mounted. Before, I had a little small jib crane mounted on the lathe that I could do these chucks with, but it was really kind of limiting. It didn't have the versatility. It was hard to get it in position. This big jib crane is going to eliminate all of those problems. So let's get in here and get this chuck mounted up. Let's see, going up. I'll lift it up right into position. This particular lathe uses a D16 mount, so put that in neutral. I can turn this by hand. There we go. So I got the studs that will line up, put it in place, and we'll get something to tighten those up real quick. This is just a cam lock, so you turn that and it pulls it in and gets it nice and tight. I'm going to take the crane off and we'll rotate it around. There's 6 of those that need to be tightened up, and this chuck will be mounted. And we'll go ahead and get the other mounting studs tightened up here. All right, we got our roller out here, and need to get it hooked up. I got some slings on it. We're going to pick this thing up and hopefully set it over here in the lathe. I'm just taking a center drill, kind of cleaning out this center hole with the crud that's up in it. It's a big center. That'll help that run a little bit better. I weighed this drum the other day, and it weighed, what was it? About 1,350 pounds, I think, roughly. And before I go raising it up too high, it's the first time I've done a lift. We're all the way out at the end of this thing. I just want to make sure my gantry or my jib crane is going to hold it up okay. It appears to be doing just fine. So we should be well within tolerance, but this is the first time I've had any weight on it, and we're starting out with a pretty big load. I think we're good. I'm going to take it on up. All right, I think we about got it up here at the right height and ready to put her in here. Just carefully bringing it around. I'll clear you up. All right. Got it kind of cradled over here in the jaws of the chuck. Get the backside here where the tailstock will come in. All right. Now I'm going to tighten up the jaws here on the vise. I'm going to have to come back and get this trued up with an indicator, but we are going to at least go ahead and kind of get it in here. You lower that down a little bit. There we go. Make sure that's good and tight. We'll lock that down. Tailstock's already clamped down. And we can release the weight here. We are completely supported by the lathe now. We'll get these straps out and get this jib crane out of the way. All right. And I'm working on kind of dialing this thing in a little bit. I got it really close. Let's see, we can go to the other side. Yeah, that's pretty good. We're within a thou or two, it looks like, on this all the way around. All right, I'm happy with that. We're gonna just make sure everything's good and tight. And go with it. We're gonna be turning on the other end that has the center in it anyway, so even if it's off by a thou or two on this end, it's not gonna matter. But we're within a thou or two, so on this roller, I think that's good. All right, I think we're ready to do some turning. We're just about ready to start our turning, but before I do, I want to take a wire wheel and just kind of clean this drum up a little bit. I think I'm just going to turn it on real slow, let it kind of rotate, and get in here and just try to clean all this up, get as much rust off as I can before we start trying to turn it. Let's see here. Fire this thing up, put it in low speed. Go. Well, what is going on? Well, guys, something's wrong with my lathe. I haven't used this thing since we moved it over here after we put in the jib crane. And I don't know if when we moved it, if we didn't mess something up somehow. Wow. Okay. Let me. It's almost like this is the lever to engage it, and I don't hear anything back there. There's a lever on the back side of this. I'm gonna take a cover off and see if we've lost some linkage or something. I don't know. I just don't know. Let's see what's going on. Well, it's been days now since I went over there and grabbed my angle grinder to clean this thing up, and ended up having to spend a couple of days working on the lathe to get a few things nailed out there. But the good news is that we've got the lathe fixed, and there's a couple of videos that will probably come out before this one on me actually working on the lathe to get it back up and going. But I think we're good to go. So I want to get this drum turning slow. I got the angle grinder out with a wire wheel on it, and I just want to try to clean it up a little bit. We did not send these drums off to get sandblasted. I didn't want to get those journals too blasted. I wanted to keep them kind of pristine, or as pristine as I could. So anyway, we're just going to do this by hand. So let's fire up the lathe. I got it going in slowest speed it'll go, 12 RPMs. And we'll come in here with the angle grinder and start cleaning it up. Let's take a look and see what we got. First off, first thing I want to do is measure this. I want to kind of get an idea of what size this is supposed to be. So I got a micrometer here. This is a 5 to 6 inch micrometer. And yeah, we're just about 5 thousandths under 375, which would be 5 3/8 inches. And you can see a little bit of pitting in here. It's not too bad most of the way around. I mean, there is some pitting in there. This side's not bad at all. And you start getting back into some pitting in here, but then, boom. Yeah. I don't know if somebody came in here and ground some oil grooves into the shaft, which normally you would put your oil grooves in the babbitt, not in the shaft. That would be a no-no. Or if that was where the oil grooves was in the shaft and it collected water and it just rusted in those spots, and that's what's left over. It almost looks like the rust ate that away. So I'm kind of leaning towards that. I can't imagine someone just grinding that out. I think that there was a grind mark in the babbitt, and of course the babbitt was all gone when I got it, so I can't tell for sure, but water got down in that hole and it just sat there and it just rusted away and ate that away. We got to fix that, and that's kind of deep. You know, my initial thoughts on this was I was just going to come in here and skim these. You know, even if they were a little bit undersized, we would pour the babbitt to match, but that's more than what I was counting on. So I think that's going to require welding up and returning. The other side has got a similar type situation going on, and it's in kind of the same position, which again makes me kind of think that it's just rust pits. But I think we're going to weld these up before we even start trying to turn them. And I don't know, maybe I got to decide whether I want to weld the whole thing up or just weld those low spots up. Let me ponder on that. Well, I think I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and weld this journal up on here on both sides. We're going to start with this side, and since it's way too big to go in my weld positioner, obviously, we're going to do it on the lathe. I don't really like welding on the lathe, but I really don't think I've got another choice. I'm going to put a welding blanket down up underneath the bottom here just to make sure I don't get any splatter up on my ways or anything. And I've got my TIG torch, or maybe not my TIG torch, but my MIG setups here mounted in the lathe where I can just kind of let that hold it in position, and then we'll just move it down a little bit at a time and let it just kind of weld in here. Now, as far as powering it goes, I could turn the lathe on and let it turn. The slowest this thing will go is 12 RPMs, which is way too fast. I mean, I'm probably looking at 1 RPM, maybe even less than that. So I'm just going to have to come in here and do this by just turning it by hand. I've got a ground over here with a piece of copper wire on it wrapped around the spindle, so I should be having my ground not through the machine, but it'll be directly through the spindle. One of the big kind of no-nos with welding on lathe is you don't want to put your ground on the machine and have the ground go through your bearings. This way, I've got a ground going right here, so I shouldn't have current going through my bearings or anything like that that could potentially cause problems. So there we go. It's kind of my setup. I've got my Lincoln Electric Power MIG 210, which is what I've been using for these, and other ones are for welding up other cane mill rollers. It's worked just fine. So let's get at it and see how it goes. Kind of see how I got this set up with that pointed right in there on the top of it. And again, I'm just going to rotate this drum by hand. And as we're coming along here, as we make a round, I'll just move the spindle out, go over, make another round, and just work my way down. Same way I would do it with a weld positioner, but it's going to be on the lathe instead. We use the lathe as the weld positioner. All right, let's see what kind of mess we can make here. First round, I'm gonna just come over a little bit and we'll make another round. I'm having difficulty keeping my speed uniform, but it is what it is. we're just going to make the best out of it. I think we'll be able to get enough material on there to do what we need to do. There's the results of our welding up. Got a little bit of porosity in a couple of these places. Hopefully it's just up on the top. We'll see. We're going to get in there and turn it off and see what it looks like. All right, we've got our lathe turning at 435 RPMs. I've got just a regular cutter here. What I want to do is start off by just kind of hitting the high spots. Got to start somewhere. I got to see a little place right there. Go ahead and try to knock that off. Another high spot right here, it looks like. Come back out, and I'm going to feed in a little bit again, and I'm just going to kind of just hit those high spots until we start cutting kind of all the way across. All right, we are turning away here. I've about got all the weld cut down to where I'm in solid weld. We've still got a little material to get to before we get to size, but it's coming along nicely. I think the weld job is going to be adequate. There's a little bit of porosity in there, at least the last time I looked. I'm hoping as I get down a little bit deeper, we're going to get out of some of that. But even if there are a few little potholes in there, little small holes in there, it's not really going to hurt anything for the application that we've got going here. So we're probably just going to roll with it and go. But we are getting there. Just wanted to kind of bring you guys and give you an update of where we were. This journal's going to, I think, turn out just fine. Well, guys, we're on our last pass here. It seems like everything's turning out pretty good. There is a little bit of porosity from that weld, but I think it's going to be just fine. It's just going to be on a Babbitt bearing journal, so it's not like this is we're making parts for NASA here. This is a slow turning cane mill. I just have to keep reminding myself of that. But anyway, we'll finish this turnout, and I'll show you what we got when we get done. All right, let me show you where we ended up here. After I turned that, I did come back over it with some emery cloth and just kind of polished it up, and I actually polished up the whole shaft here. Just because I wanted to make sure that big gear will slide back over that pretty easily. Hopefully it will. And as I was saying, there is a little bit of porosity in here. I don't think it's anything to worry about. It's just going to be a place for the oil to go in and travel around. So, it's below the surface. One thing I will note is you see these little lines in here? That, I think, has got something to do with, as my lathe is moving down and as that screw is turning in there, it's just, at certain places, at certain intervals, it's just kind of cutting just a little bit deeper. It's not, I've come in there and you can barely even feel it with your fingers. In fact, you can't even feel it with your fingers, but obviously when I polished it out, it kind of highlighted those areas that are just a little bit lower in there. That's probably something I'm going to have to play around with on the lathe and try to smooth up things. I'm not real happy with that, but again, for a Babbitt bearing turning at super slow RPMs, is it going to matter? No. Is it ideal? No. Is it something I need to deal with? Yes, but it's going to be fine for what the application, what we're doing here. Pick your battles, guys. This is not a part going on the space shuttle. This is a cane mill, like I said, turning at probably 1 or 2 RPMs, super slow on Babbitt bearings. So it's going to be fine. All right, I'm done with this side. We're going to get in here and get this thing back up on the hoist and flip it around, and we got to do the same thing to the other side. All right, I got my straps on. I'm going to put a clevis in here again like we did before. I'll come up here to the crane and hook it all in place. I'm just putting a little bit of tension on it. Get it fully supported. All right, I'm going to back off the tailstock now, and I should be able to see. I need to raise it up a little bit more. All right, it's suspended on this end. I got that retracted back all the way. Now I need to loosen up my jaws here on the chuck. And there she comes. And we'll just turn her 180 degrees and put her right back in. I got a keyway right here. I want to make sure I'm not chucking right on that key. Let's get our center back in here again. You know what? I need to clean that center up before we do this. All right, I've got a center drill that is the same size as the one that was used originally to drill this hole, best I can tell. And I'm just kind of using it by hand. I'm mostly just cleaning gunk and garbage out of there, years and years of crud. But you can see it's cleaning it up, freshening it up, and that should give me a good center to go back in on. So now let's reposition this again. All right, we are getting this position back in place. Bring it over to the four-jaw chuck. And I'm going to go ahead and get my center in this end to kind of get it lined up more or less like it needs to be. And on the chuck, because I've already kind of worked this in, I don't want to mar the chuck up. So I've actually got some little brass or copper, little sheet metal strips, and I'm going to put this between the four-jaw chuck and the work so that when I clamp down on it, I'm not clamping into this surface that we just machined. So I'm going to go around to all of these and get them put in place. Let's see. All right, I got one on the back side there. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to clamp those in place. And then I need to turn everything here just a little bit to take some pressure off of this. All right. Get a little shim in there. Go around the other side and do it. All right. So we should be fully supported by the chuck now. We're fully supported on this end with the live center. So I'm going to let the pressure down off of this. All right, we'll get those straps off, and now we need to indicate in this end with the indicator to get it running true, and we'll be ready to start working on the other side. Indicating this in, I've been working on this a little bit. It was out by a bunch when I first started. I've got it a little bit closer, but it's still out. So right now, you know, we'll just zero that out. We'll go 180 degrees to the other side. And you can see it's about a 110 thousandths out. So let's see, come back this way. It needs to go in half of that 110 thousandths, so 55 thousandths is what we need to go in. So let me go loosen up the other side. Let's see, we're going to move it about 30 thousandths. I loosened up the other side again, and we're going to go down some more. Didn't go quite far enough. Need about 15 more thousandths. All right, that's within probably still 10 thousandths out. Let's see. We'll come back around the other side. Yeah, still 10 thousandths out on that one. It looks like we're about 5 or 6 thousandths out on the other one. So let me go ahead and move this one 10. And just loosen up the other side a little bit. And that should be pretty close. Yeah, we're within a thou right there. So now, let's check this one. We'll go 180 to it. And we need to go in about 15 thousandths on this one. Check that again. All right, let's see where we are here. I'm gonna see. All right, so we're about 20 thousandths. We need to do half of that. And it needs to go the other direction, so I need to move it about 10 thousandths in from that one. Loosen up. Tighten up this side. I'm within 2 thousandths the whole way around. I'm probably not going to fool with it. Most of that just seems to be jumping around. We got a little bit of irregularities in the shaft itself, so I think we're going to call that good. Well, one side down, one to go. I'm going to probably do this one off camera. I'm running out of time. I need to get this video edited. I've still got this whole side to go, but you've seen the process. We'll come in here, we'll clean it up, weld it up, turn it back down, try to get it as smooth as we can. This side, I'll show you real quick before I get out of here, but this side is pretty pitted. It needs a lot of work, so we can definitely make this a lot better than what it is. Let me show you what it looks like real quick. All right, so here's the other side, and you can see I haven't cleaned it up yet, but there's a fair amount of pitting in here. That looks really rough right there. really rough through here and right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that looks like where there was, again, an oil groove cut in the babbitt, and the water got in there and collected, and it just really rotted that area out right there. So this is actually worse than the other side to start with. But we ought to be able to weld it up, turn it down, and make it a lot better than what we had. And as far as those little copper brass strips I put in, this is where we gripped it before, and you can see it marred that up. Not a huge deal, we'll polish that out, but since I've got the other side already done, that's the reason I put that copper in there. That way I'm not putting steel on steel whenever we clamp all this together. That should protect that journal that we've already got turned over there, that the big gear will fit up on. So guys, you've seen the process of what we did to get this other side fixed up. We got to do the same thing over here as we just showed, and I'm going to do this work off camera. I'm running out of time. I need to get this video edited up and posted out for you guys to see, but it's the exact same process. So we're going to come in here, work on this end, hopefully get it looking as good or better than the other side, and we'll be in good shape. And this drum will be ready to go back on the mill as soon as we get some babbitt poured for it. So with that, I'm going to be signing off. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted to the site. And as always, a big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, etc. Really enables me to be able to take the time to shoot these videos, edit the videos, bring them to you. There's a lot of work involved in all that. And any help you guys can give me, it is greatly appreciated, and enables me, like I said, to take the time to do that. And with that, we will sign off. Again, we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.